Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are learning in Amud the day Maseches Kiddushin. We are fighting the war through Torah, and we are now Nun Ches Amud Aleph in the fifth line from the top of the page. That's today's Amud Nun Ches Amud Aleph Kiddushin, and the topic we are exploring today is called Chulin Shenishchetu Ba'azoro. Chulin Shenishchetu Ba'azoro namely means if a person, man or woman, the person took not a korban. A person took an animal which is not a korban. A person took an animal which was not designated, not consecrated, not kodesh, regular, so to speak, secular animal. Yeah, it was not said that it's going to be holy bichlal, right? He went into the Beis HaMikdash and he shechted it. That alone, we said, is issur midoraisa. So far, we said it's issur midoraisa. Why is it issur midoraisa? Because the Torah tells us in Chumash Dvorim, Perek Yud Beis, it says, Ki yirchak mimcho hamokoim. Where are you allowed to shecht regular meat like we do today? Where are you allowed to do that? You're allowed to do that. In many European countries, you're not allowed to, I know. Where are you allowed to shecht the whatever, the animals? Where is that? B'mokoim, ki yirchak mimcho hamokoim. In a place far away. So we explained far away doesn't mean far away in Antarctica. Far away means outside Beis HaMikdash. You can shecht your regular animal outside Beis HaMikdash. Inside Beis HaMikdash, you're not allowed to. That was the limud. Okay, so it says you're not allowed to shecht. How do you know you're not allowed to eat? Maybe you can shecht it. But maybe if you shechted it and it's kosher shchita, at the end of the day, everything else is good. We said what? No. It says v'zdavachto ve'ochalto. You eat. You eat only the kind of food that you were zaveach outside, you shechted outside Beis HaMikdash. It's the same posture continuing. But if you're zaveach inside, you're not allowed to eat. Now, how did we come to that story in the middle of Kiddushin? What does that have to do with Kiddushin? So we said, the Mishnah told us that if a person was mekadesh a woman with such kind of meat, that kind of meat, she's not mekudeshes. It doesn't matter where they are, Ellen. Even if they are, he took the meat, shechted it where? In Beis HaMikdash. That's all problem. Even if he took out the meat wherever he wants to, the wedding hall in Talpiot, wedding hall in Tel Aviv, and he was mekadesh with that meat, a nice steak from that meat, the Kiddushin do not apply. The Kiddushin are invalid. Why? Because not only you're not allowed to do it, not only you're not allowed to eat it, there's a high level, you're not allowed to derive hana'a from it. And that we haven't yet discovered. This is exactly what we're holding right now. Not everything you can't eat, you can't have hana'a. Give me an example for something which you're not allowed to eat, but you may have hana'a from. Balmum is not even also bano. It's mutar even in eating. Chazir. Chazir treif. Chazir you're not allowed to eat. Last time I checked, I think so. Not the Jewish thing to do. But if, yeah, oops, yeah, you wanna tell us? So are you allowed to sell chazir to Mackenzie? Not on a regular basis. Yes. Not allowed to do it on a regular basis for different reasons. But conceptually, if you have some chazir that somebody gave you as a Xmas gift, you can give it over. You can sell it even because it's mutar ba'ano. So how do you know that chulin shenishchetu ba'azoro are also ba'ano? That's exactly what we're holding right now. Says the Gemara, Yochol lo yishchot. Maybe you're not allowed to shecht it, but v'imshochat yeshlichenu lifnei klovim. Maybe if you shechted it b'di'eved, you can throw it to the dogs. Throwing to the dogs is just an example of what? No, I'm allowed to feed my dog with it. Maybe I'm allowed to feed my dog with it, to feed my cat with this meat. Maybe I'm allowed to sell it. Maybe I'm allowed to be mekadesh with it. How did the Mishnah know it can't be mekadesh? Answers the Gemara, Talmud loymar, lakelev teshlichun oisoi. The famous pasuk that talks about nevela v'treifa. There were two psukim, one nevela, one treifa. Yeah, so one of these psukim about treifa says, if you have treifa meat, you are allowed to throw to the dogs. Yeah, meat that's treif. Yeah, there was a terminally ill animal. The meat was treif, and you shechted it, kosher, but it's not kosher because it's treif. Then what happens then? Throw it to the dogs, and it's okay. It's mutar ba'ano. So what do we learn from this pasuk? It says lakelev teshlichun oisoi. You're only allowed to throw to the dogs the animal, the meat which is nevela. Oisoi etamashlich lakelev. You're allowed to throw to the dog the nevela or the treifa. But chulin shenishchetu ba'azoro, that you cannot throw to the dogs and you're not allowed to have derived any hana'a from that. Rashi asks a question. We're going to see Rashi inside today, but not this one. What does that have to do with the price of cheese? It's apples and oranges, chalk and cheese. Why do we compare treifa to chulin shenishchatu ba'azoro? Why dafka that? Right? He's saying treifa you're allowed to have a no, as opposed to what? It could be as opposed to million issur Torah, right? Why do you know? Yeah, why do you say that the mirror image, the opposite, is dafka the case of chulin shenishchatu ba'azoro that's not allowed bano? Rashi explains something fascinating. There is a halacha which you may or may not know, which we did learn in the past. Actually, I think we saw it in Bavakama. It's called Yotze Doifen. Yeah, a person. No, it's not exactly Yotze Doifen. Something else. Halacha is as follows. Let's say that an animal which is pregnant, a female animal, sheep, whatever, a cow, you shechted it, and you found a baby inside. Does the baby need shchita? No. It's nitar. It says behema, inside the behema. Everything inside the behema, including the embryo, including the fetus, is all mutter in the shchita. However, a very interesting halacha. If the animal stuck out one limb, let's say the leg, just as an example, yeah, it stuck out the leg out of the mother's womb as if the birth started, and then brought it back in again. And then you shechted the animal. So the part that was outside the mother, yeah, and even if it came back before shchita, is not exempt with the shchita. So you're allowed to eat that. You're allowed to eat this entire baby once born, except for that part that left the animal while it was pregnant. Yeah, very interesting. Even if it came back before the shchita, no. Once it was out, oh, so what do we see? It's called yotza chutz lemchitzosoi. Anything that left its place of origin, anything that went out of where it's supposed to be, what happens then? It's not included in the shchita. It's issur. And the pasuk bosel b'sod treifa talks about that. That leg of the animal is like treifa, yeah. And you're allowed to throw it to the dogs. What's the opposite of that kind of animal? Why? This animal, the baby, the unborn baby, he stuck out his foot or his the hand. It's called whatever, the forearm, and then it went out of where it's supposed to be. That's the opposite of our animal that came in to the place where it's not supposed to be. The chulin that was brought into the azara is like, in a way, the opposite of the baby outside the womb. Beis HaMikdash is like our womb. It's like our mother. Beis HaMikdash is like the place where the animal that's outside not supposed to go in. That's why there are two diametrically opposed things. So the one that sticks out its leg out of the place, you're allowed to have hana'a. Don't eat that animal, that part of the animal, but you can throw it to the dogs and sell it to Tim. But when it comes to the animal coming in from Beersheba, from Haifa, from London, from Manchester, you brought it from Manchester, from London. Wow. You brought it into Beis HaMikdash, and now it's chulin shenishchatu ba'azara. You should not have hana'a. These are the opposites. Obviously, it's not pashup pshat, it's doasha. But very nice. So far, so good. We have established everything. Mazel tov, and that's so far it. Don't do it. Don't shecht it inside the azara. Do not eat it, and do not derive hana'a. Don't have hana'a from it either. And therefore, your sweetheart should not get under the chuppah chulin shenishchatu ba'azara. Try for something else, maybe a gold ring, something more traditional. Now, continues the Gemara with a story to do with it. Ashkechinu Mar Yehuda l'Rav Yosef. Mar Yehuda found, he met Rav Yosef and Rav Shmuel Bred Rabba Bar Bar Chana. Yeah, in other words, it's conversation between Mar Yehuda and two Amoraim, Rav Yosef and Rav Shmuel, son of Rabba Bar Chana. Davukayim yapitcha de Rabba. Yeah, they were standing by the door of the house of Rabba, the famous Amoira, the Rosh Hashiva, the Dayan, Rabba. They, as we'll see later, they were about to enter Rabba's house, and then he got into conversation with them before they reached Rabba's, inner house. Omar Lehu, so now he challenged them with a question. Omar Lehu, he told them, Tanya, this is very good summary. We saw in the Brisa the following. Amekadesh bepeter chamoir. Oh, this is chazor for us. A person mekadesh bepeter chamoir, is that good or bad? Kiddushin apply, don't apply? No. Peter chamoir is also ba'ano. I don't have to explain. Do I have to explain peter chamoir? Don't be shy. Yeah. The firstborn, the chamoir. I just learned about it today. You know what we learned from peter chamoir? Why do we treat the chamor like in a more respectful way? It's a donkey. Yeah, it's treif and it's considered to be a very low animal. When you call a person chamor in Hebrew, it's not a compliment. Believe me, don't say that to anybody. So why? Because they took our stuff from Mitzrayim. They were the cargo. Yeah, they took a lot of good gold, silver, clothes on their backs. So we shall satoiv. So now, a chamor, peter chamor, you can't be mekadosh. It's also bano. The boso becholov, how about that? Cheeseburger, aret mukudeshesli, but cheeseburger is there. Kedas Moshe v'Yisrael goes or doesn't go? Doesn't go. It's also bano. Ubechulin shenishchatu ba'azoro doesn't go. We'll explain enough. Look at that. Rabbi Shimon Omer mekudeshes. Oh, Rabbi Shimon argues. Rabbi Shimon says she's mekudeshes on all three accounts. If you followed yesterday's shiur, it wouldn't surprise you the first two, because Rabbi Shimon is the one who said that Petra Chamo only becomes osir once beheaded. But if you give her a live donkey under the chuppah, so nice, yeah. Then according to Rabbi Shimon, it's okay, because then it's not yet osir ba'ano. Okay, right? Now, what about bosa b'cholov? Also, there was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yehuda, or Rabbi Shimon. It's a question. He said the bosa b'cholov is mutar ba'ano. Don't eat it, but it's mutar ba'ano because it's compared kodesh to nevela. Mutar ba'ano. What about the third item? Why is Rabbi Shimon telling me that chulin shenishchatu ba'azoro? If you're mekadosh with that, then it works. That we're going to discover now. But that's Rabbi Shimon's opinion. We're only focusing now on one item. Chulin shenishchatu ba'azoro. Rabbi Shimon is surprising us that if you took that animal which is shechted inside, aret mukudeshesli, it works. Why? That's a good question. The Chachamim oimrim, ena mekudeshes. Okay, that's the mainstream normal opinion. Chachamim say all these three items are osur ba'ano, and she's not mekudeshes. Thank you. Alma. Oh, you know how I understand that? Says Mar Yehuda. Mar Yehuda is the one challenging them. As I told you, I promised you this yesterday. According to Mar Yehuda, according to the Tana Rabbi Shimon, he says they are not osir midoraisa, which means we never saw black and white in the Torah. Chulin shenishchatu ba'azor is osir, right? I kept saying it because I was careful. Where did we derive it from? The pasuk tells you that if you're far away from Beis HaMikdash, then you can shecht your animals, right? Rabbi Shimon learns that for something else. I don't know what, and Rashi doesn't tell us. Rabbi Shimon, maybe in a different Masechta, he uses the pasuk for something else. So he does not believe that chulin shenishchatu ba'azor is also d'oraisa. It's only also DeRabanan, and Rashi explains why. Even this Rashi will not read inside. I'm saving my Rashi for later. Rashi says something very, very interesting. I found it fascinating. Why is chulin shenishchatu ba'azor okay midoraisa, but with the Rabbanon they're not okay? So let's see the following. Let's imagine the following. Yeah. Okay. Let's have this like interesting scenario in our minds. A person comes to Beis HaMikdash with his own sheep, which is absolutely not consecrated, not mukda, regular sheep from a herd yet. And now he comes, he shechts it. Now he doesn't sprinkle it in the mizbeach. Now you told me about kochim yesterday. So the most important stage in the process of when we're learning Vayikra now in Shnai Mikra, the God's world, Kriyas HaTorah, Vayikra Tzav, the most important, and I'm saying this with all certainty, the most important stage in the process of the bringing the korban, of offering the korban, is the Zrikas Adam. Once the blood hits the Mizbeach, there are many different ways for that, then what? At that moment, the korban has been, you can tick the box. The person has been atoned for, the person gave his thank you. Even if afterwards there's all kinds of mess ups, which is not good, once it hit, the blood hit the Mizbeach, you've made it. Yeah, you're yoitze. Okay, just accept that for now. Now, let's say the person comes, he shechts an animal, right, which is his own animal. He shechts it in Beis HaMikdash. In order to go home, he wants to go back home to Eilat, I don't know, and have a barbecue. He just shechted it in Beis HaMikdash. He thinks it's a cool thing to do. Will he sprinkle the blood on the Mizbeach? No, it's not a korban. He won't sprinkle it on the Mizbeach. Now, people will ask the guy, hey, mister, what are you going to do with this korban? They think it's a korban. So he's going to tell them, you know, I'm going to have a barbecue tonight in Eilat in honor of the Houthi, yeah, the Yemenite people. So then what would people think? People will think as follows. People will think that this is really korban because it's in Beis HaMikdash. And you know why he didn't sprinkle the blood? Because if a korban has an issue, it became tomeh or all kinds of other issues, before the sprinkling of the blood, you don't sprinkle the blood. Let's say there was a korban that was supposed to be brought and have the Zrichas Adam. but a halachic problem occurred at the process, then you don't sprinkle the blood. Now, but that animal, it's called kochim shenifselu. A kochim shenifselu, they were disqualified. You're not allowed to make a barbecue of them. You're supposed to burn them because they're holy. Something holy that can't go into the mizbech, it's still holy and you shouldn't benefit. People will confuse the two. People say, listen, these guys shechted, as we say, half knowledge is the most dangerous. My father, used to say that in English. Yeah, what's the story? People will watch and say, what's going on here? There are a lot of people in Beis HaMikdash. He's shechting it. Looks like it's a good thing for korban, at least by behema, and he didn't sprinkle it. I know why. Because it happens quite often. There was some kind of mess there. It's a korban, which didn't make it all the way to the finals, right? And they're going to ask the guy, it's a very frum guy, big beard, big Talmid Chacham, Rosh Yeshiva. And what are you going to do with that? I'm going to make a barbecue tonight. Ah, really? They will think that kochim, you can make a barbecue outside Beis HaMikdash, chas v'shalom, with kochim. And that will be a terrible, terrible mistake and catastrophe. That's what Chachamim were going there. And that's, according to what we're holding right now, it's not the Raisa, it just exerted the DeRabanan. And therefore, the Kiddushin applied. You know why Reb Shimon said that the Kiddushin, if you're Mekadesh a lady with a nice, very succulent steak from Chulin Shenishchatu Ba'azoro, you know why it works? Naughty boy, naughty girl. But because it's only the DeRabanan, and Kiddushin are the Raisa, Rabbanan let it through. And Mimele, the Kiddushin apply because it's only an issur DeRabanan. Taisus says that sometimes it's issur DeRabanan. Also, the Kiddushin don't apply. I'm not going there. It's complicated enough. Lamai said that's why. That's the way we see it now. Again, let's just summarize in one sentence. The reason why, according to Reb Shimon, Chulin Shenishchatu Ba'azor does work for Kiddushin, because the issur is DeRabanan, not D'oraisa. That's what we're trying to say now. And that's only the beginning of the question of Mar Yehuda, the Raminu. Now I'm going to challenge you, says Mar Yehuda. Raminu means I'm going to quote a different Raisa for you. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, Chulin Shenishchatu Ba'azor, it's the same Rabbi Shimon, yes, same Tana. Chulin Shenishchatu Ba'azor, what about them? Isofu. Let's say you have Chulin Shenishchatu Ba'azor, what do you do with them afterwards? Well, first of all, you can't eat, you can't benefit. You asked Ellen to think about a different issur. What shall be done with that? Burn it. You have to burn it. The dead body of the animal, you have to burn it. Wow. Even a chaya shenishchata ba'azor. Now, a chaya, as we said, what's a chaya? Give an example of a chaya. Deer, hart, giraffe, yeah, whatever, gnu. All these things are chayas, yeah. So these things, whatever you call it, yeah, wildebeest. So these animals that are wild animals, even though they cannot be brought as kochim, if you shechted them ba'azara, you have to burn them by the eved. Now that means it's d'oraisa. Why is it d'oraisa? Because you ask what do you do with the issur hana'a? Forget about issur hana'a in general, but right now, so issur hana'a should be burned first of all. Secondly, issur d'oraisa. Issur hana'a that are similar to kodshim, right? Well, what's the fear? What's the chashash, right? That this is similar to kochim. True? Because it's similar to kochim that have failed, what do you do with this kochim? You burn them, right? Now, if you're telling me that this is d'oraisa, makes sense. If it's an issur d'oraisa, then the behema, which is nishchat inside, is midoraisa, similar to an animal that's to the wrong kind of kochim. You burn it. That's what you do to the wrong thing. To hana'a, kochim shenifsalu, and the chaya. Now, no. I'm sorry. I made one small glitch, one mistake. If you say that the issur to shecht is d'oraisa, both behema and chaya that are secular, shechted inside, it's d'oraisa. If you said it's d'oraisa, it makes sense that Rabbanan came and Rabbanan said you have to burn it, right? In other words, you have to burn both behema and chaya b'di'eved. Midoraisa, it doesn't say you have to burn it. Rabbanan came and imposed burning on both behema and chaya. Now, chaya is always one level less than behema. We said already before. Behema can be brought to the mizbeach. So behema shenishchatu ba'azoro is mamish the wrong version of what you are supposed to bring. B'shenken, if you brought deer to Beis HaMikdash and shechted it, it makes less sense why it's issur, but it's issur. If you say it's d'oraisa, then I understand where Rabbanan have a blanket chiyuv to burn it, to burn both behema and chaya. Rashi says because Rabbanon made a general blanket chiyuv through and through. Even when it makes more sense, makes less sense. But if you say it's DeRabanan, if you say that the whole shchita is DeRabanan, if you say that the whole issur to shecht is DeRabanan, so the sreifa is DeRabanan. And by the animal, it's extremely, very, very far, right? Because the whole issur to shecht is what, only because it may look like, seem like, the whole shchita is DeRabanan. To burn it, if it's behema, nunu, behema looks like the real kochi. But chaya, I brought a deer to Beis HaMikdash, nobody will think it's a korban, right? It's not a general gzer DeRabanan. Okay, but to burn it afterwards and not be koiver, to burn it, that's way, way too far. Again, I'm repeating. If the whole issur of shechting is DeRabanan, even by behema, that's one level. To aser shechting chaya is one level less, makes less sense to us. Because nobody would think that your giraffe is a korban, or your deer, or your heart, right? Okay, now the DeRabanan. Then Rabbanan impose again, if you shechted it, you should treat it as if it was chulin shenifsalu and burn it. Okay, I can get that by behema. But by chaya, to burn the chaya that is shechted inside, but the even, that's like 2-3 levels far apart already. That's very far-fetched. So it doesn't make sense to you. In other words, Elamai, if he says you have to burn any types of chulin shenishchutu ba'azoro, must be that at least the shchita itself, the act itself, is also the oraisa. And our Rabbanan say, listen, we have one level we leveled all issurim, behema and chaya, and both of them are also have to be burnt, like kochim. We're going maybe to see Rashi inside, but I want to hear your questions, and then we may look at Rashi inside. But anyway, the question is as follows. I just summarize the question, and then I'll hear you. Again, what's the question? It's a stira in Rabbi Shimon. That's what Mariuda is asking the two Heilige Amaroim on their way to the house of Rabbah. In one place, what does Rabbi Shimon say? A woman may be miskadeshes b'di eved with chulin sheshchutu ba'azoro, i.e., it's DeRabanan. This is DeRabanan because it looks like psulim mukdashin. Rabbanan were turn the blind eye, and they're not going to disqualify your Kiddushin. It's not also Doraisa. Yofi. On the other hand, we see that when it comes to burning the animal, what do you do with the Eved once you shechted it? Says Rabbi Shimon, burn it. Both Chaya and Behema. That, to cut a long story short, that shows that it must be Doraisa. Because Rabbanan can't be goes, there's so many levels, also B'di'evid, and also Chaya, and also this, must be the ideas. Doraisa, the Shchita. So it's a stira. In Rabbi Shimon, is it Doraisa, is the Rabbanan. I may read Rashi inside. What do you say, Barry? So they were facing the question, and now they went up the stairs to Rabba's house. Okay. So now also look at the Rabbi. Now these two Ameroim, Rav Yosef and Rav Shmuel, they came to Rabbah. Omar Lehu, and he told them Palga. Yeah. He told them about the Mar Yehuda. He is a palga, is a warmonger. He's a person who just tries to maknit. Yeah, he always likes to argue. He's an argumentative person. Ukminchi. How does the article explain ukminchi? I will explain it to you. Ukminchi. What's palga ukminchi? Because I think what stumped. He stumped you. Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
He's in cricket.
He stumped you. Okay. Good. Thank you, Artsmo. Palga ukminchi. What? Yes, but palga here Rashi says is kantral rogi lachlok al chaverov liflog bar plugta. Palga means half, also means to deviate, to separate, to be their opponent. And now I'll answer you the question, says Rabba. This is how we're going to answer the question. Which means, really, Rabbi Shimon thinks it's Doraisa. You know why Rabbi Shimon said there's an exception to the rule, and sometimes a woman can be miskadeshes with chulin shenishchutu ba'azoro. That talks about one specific case. The guy came to Beis HaMikdash with, as you call it, chulin, non-consecrated animal. In Beis HaMikdash, he shechted it wrong. But you know what happened? He checked it, wrong guy. He checked it, he checked the lungs, he checked the brains, he checked the whatever. The stomach, you know what happened? Treifa. The animal was treifa all along. the treifa before he shechted it, the animal was terminally ill before he shechted it. So what? Rabbi Shimon letaime, Rabbi Shimon follows his own reasoning, the Tanya. Rabbi Shimon says, "Ashochet es a treifa, v'chen ashochet v'nimtzes treifa, ze v'ze chulin ba'azoro." Ashochet es a treifa. The person shechted an animal knowing it's treifa, or he shechted it, and later it was nimtza. It was discovered to be treifa. So now, according to Tanakama, it's chulin ba'azoro, meaning who cares it's treifa? Tanakama says you shechted it. It's a kosher shchita. The shchita is kosher, otherwise it's not chulin ba'azoro. The best chalif, the best shechet of Eida Charedi, center of Lando, and of Rubin, best shchita imaginable. The animal is treif. So what? It's still chulin ba'azoro because the shchita is what makes it osur. Here comes the punchline. Rabbi Shimon matir ba'ano v'chachomim oisrim. Rabbi Shimon allows it, and Rabbi Shimon says that it's not, but the evet it's not a problem. Why? Rabbi Shimon has a shita throughout Shas, which we saw in Bavakama. Let's say a person does shchita, a person shechts an animal. The shchita is super kosher, but the animal is treif. In Hebrew, there's a saying, I don't know if say it in English, the operation was very, very successful, but the patient died. Yeah, there's an expression like that. Like everything everything went well, but the result was somehow flunked. You don't say it in English. Okay, in other words, everything went right, so I don't know what happened that the project failed. Happens at work sometimes, right? Like everything went right, but. So really, he shechted it very, very nicely. But the animal is treif. Can you eat it? You can't eat it. Oh, is that called shchita? Says Reb Shimon, no. It's not even called ma'aseh shchita. And therefore, it's not called chulin ba'azoro. You're allowed to bring chulin la'azoro and dance with it. You're allowed to bring chulin la'azoro and put it on your head. You're not allowed to bring chulin la'azoro and shecht it. The issur is to shecht the chulin ba'azoro. And if you shecht it, but the animal is treif, it's not shchita at all. We now see lemafreya. What's lemafreya? Retrospectively, that it's not bechlal shchita. And this shita of Reb Shimon applies in many, many halachos. Rashi brings 3 examples. Example number 1. Let's say I'm going to ask you a question. A person a person stole a bull from his friend in the middle of the night. And then what did he do? Instead of returning the bull, what did he do? He shechted it kosher l'mehadrin. Very religious. The bull that he shechted, he's not, that he stole in now shechted. No, what does he have to do now? 5 times. What about if he shechted it, kosher shchita, but the animal is treif? Says Reb Shimon, he doesn't have to pay 5 times over. Only twice maybe, first time. Yeah. In other words, if it's not called, if the shchita practically doesn't help you, shchita she'ena re'uya lav shma shchita. Another question, you shechted the mother and her son, animals, hopefully, the same day. Oisavez b'no is really mother and son. It's misleading. And are you allowed to do that? No, issur d'oraisa. Let's say shechted and one of them came out treif. You were not over an issur d'oraisa. Because it's not shchita according to Reb Shimon. According to Rabbanan, it is. According to Rabbanan, in all these cases, you do have to pay 5 times over. And you're over the issur v'oisavez b'no because you did the shchita. The fact that it's treifa is an exterior problem. But Sheikh Reb Shimon says no. Reb Shimon has a shita throughout Shas that if I shecht something and that shchita lemaisa I can't benefit from, then the whole shchita is not a shchita. And other nafkaminas v'chule. And therefore over here it's not. So again, let's summarize. So far lemaisa comes out, and that's the end of the sugya. The tchulin shenishchitu bazor is deoraisa. Even according to Reb Shimon, you know why he said about the Kiddushin. Why did he say about Kiddushin that the Kiddushin apply? Because he talks about a specific case in which the animal was treifa. The animal was treifa, so it's not shchita. If it's not shchita, it's not chulin ba'azor. It's as if I didn't do anything with the animal. That's right. Okay? Continue. Let's continue, and now we're going to quote what we saw at the end of the Mishnah. Mochon v'kiddush b'dmen mekudeshes. Yeah, we spoke about many different types of issur hana'a, and what did we say? At the end of the day, let's say you sold the petach hamor, the basar b'cholov, all the issur hana'a, right? You now, I don't know if you sold it, you exchanged for money, and now there's money that was exchanged for issur hana'a. That money, if you gave that to the woman, she's mekudeshes, meaning that the issur hana'a, the issur within it is non-transferable. Yeah, does not transfer. Yeah, doesn't get transmitted to the money. Okay, that's what we know about most issur hana'a, and all of issur hana'a that are mentioned in the Mishnah. You know, Lan, how do you know? How do you know that that issur, that prohibition, does not jump forwards into the money that was exchanged for? Right? How do you know? Answers the Gemara. Because the Torah specifically gali. What's gali? The Torah revealed to us regarding Avodah Zarah. What does it say over there? It says about Avodah Zarah, "Ve'hayiso cherem kamoihu." It says if you worship Avodah Zarah, "Ve'hayiso cherem kamoihu," you'll become cherem like the Avodah Zarah. What's cherem? Something prohibited, something out of touch, like a person in cherem lo aleinu. Yeah, you shall become cherem like the Avodah Zarah. What does it mean? There's a drosha. Kol she'ata mehaya himeno hareyu kamoyu. Vehayisa means anything which you are mehaya. It's a very, very interesting verb in Hebrew. I never saw it in my life. Mehaya means any issur you create, like haya, yesh. Any issur you create through Avodah Zarah becomes like Avodah Zarah. In other words, if you exchange your nice little statuette you bought in Singapore, which hopefully you don't, but if you did buy an Avodah Zarah item in wherever, now you want to exchange it for money, you want to sell it to an Avodah Zarah, you sell him the statue, and now you have the money, that money will become like the Avodah Zarah. The Hiso Cherem, just like Avodah Zarah's Cherem is also Bano, so too the money, meaning not like our Mishnah. Avodah Zarah is the opposite of our Mishnah. And the money exchanged for Avodah Zarah will become as prohibited as Avodah Zarah, and you can't have any benefit, and you cannot be Mekadosh a woman. So therefore, what? Absolute different levels of stringency, of how far does the issur no go. So the issur of Avodah Zarah, yes, it's different to all other issurim. And now comes the Gemara, and the other issurim are the other way around. The other regular run of the mill issur no, whichever one, the money does not catch up, doesn't catch the issur. Michlal, the chol isurim shebetorah sharu. That is to say that all other prohibitions in the Torah, but the eved, you exchange them for money, the money is allowed, the money does not hold, did not receive, did not accept the issur. Frag the Gemara, how do you know it's an exception? V'ne'elef mino, how do you know? Maybe the other way around. Maybe Avodah Zarah should be a binyan av. What's a binyan av? Maybe Avodah Zarah should be just a prototype. Maybe Avodah Zarah, maybe you should learn from Avodah Zarah to call Torah Kula. How do you know it's an exception? Maybe it's an example. Maybe Avodah Zarah, the Torah, many times the Torah does it. It tells you a rule in one halacha, and it applies to Torah Kula. Oines. It says only about sexual relationship that oines she's potter. From there we learn to call oines Shabbat, except for the Gimel Veres Chamuros. 97% of his Torah did the oines. You're potter. How do you know? We learn it from one case to all other cases. Yeah, Mishum answers the Gemara. Mishum daba avodas krechovim v'shvis mazel tov shvis, a new kid in town. Avodas krechovim v'shvis shnei ksuvim aboim keechod. The kol shnei ksuvim aboim keechod en melamdin. Oh, this is a big yisoid, which I think Kiddushin is a masechet where it appears more than any other masechet. This concept, shnei ksuvim aboim keechod en melamdin. Remember that? Yes. In other words, because the Torah repeated the same concept of Isurei Hano that do transfer onto money, right, or other items, twice. Once in Avodah Zarah and once in Shvis. Not the Shvis is bad. You're right. You can be Mekadosh in Shvis sometimes. But Lamaitz Shvis says Kedusha. Here it's issur, here it's Kedusha. It doesn't matter. But we see there's some kind of halachic energy over here that gets transmitted both by Avodah Zarah and by Shvis. Oh, the Kol Shnei Ksuvim Abeim Kechad En Melamdin, which means if the Torah has to repeat the same concept in one regarding one halacha, and then it repeats the same concept in other halacha, that means they create like an electric circuit of plus and minus. They are in their own little bubble, and you cannot learn from them to any other isurim. And I explained why, and I will explain why. Because if anybody tells you, an item, if you know you want to buy many, many things, and I'm telling you one item, I gave an example, a plate, I want to buy many, many plates. I'm here to buy 1,000 items, and you click shopping online. A plate times 1,000 is many plates. But if I say I want to buy 1,000 things, and I'm telling you, right, I I want to. No, it's actually not a good example that it's only plates. No, leave the example alone. Actually, that was regarding something else. Leave my example. I'm sorry. I regret. I'm going back in time. Forget about the shopping in the plates. It was a good example for different halacha, actually. Again, if the Torah tells me that I have a certain concept that applies to one halacha, oines, oines. I'm sorry for the example. That's a very, very good example because it's before showing places. Oines, a girl was nenas, was raped, and she's potter, even if she's married, even if she's this. It doesn't say anywhere else anything else. We assume if it's good over here, it should be good everywhere else. It spills over to call it Torah Kula. But let's say the Torah tells me something only in one place, and the same thing repeats in another place. Why did the Torah have to repeat it in the other place? If I learn automatically from case A to call it Torah Kula, then why does the Torah have to repeat it in case B? Didn't case B learn it automatically from A? From the fact you have to tell me A and B, that comes to exclude C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J till Z, right? Till Z, I'm sorry. Yeah. In other words, if it's automatically spilling all over, right? Then why do you have to repeat it in the other case? The concept is already there. The fact that the Torah repeats the concept again means that we're mitzamtzem, we're constricting it to these two cases, which are exceptions to the rule. And that's exactly what we're saying over here. And therefore, Avodas Kochavim and Shvis it repeats itself here and there to tell me this and that. I'm not buying, let's say I go to a shop that doesn't have plates. It has many, many, many different items. I'm telling you, give me 1,000 items. But if I tell them item A and item B, then I don't want the others, right? Dafka this and the others. Not an example anymore. So Mimela, you can't learn from them, and therefore regular issur no, which is not Avodah Zorah and not Shvis, those things are not transferable over money. How do you know that this is true? Avodas Kochavim Hoda Moron. Avodas Kochavim, we saw just now that the Kedusha does go further. The Kedusha is transferable because it says, we just don't have, yeah, if you create another issur, it becomes cherem. Shvis Mahi. Where do you see in the concept of Shvis? When we say Shvis, what do we mean? That the Kedusha Shvis and the limitations of Shvis, yeah, all the limitations that you have over eating Paris Shvis Mahi. What's the halacha? Where do we know? How do you know that Shvis, the Kedusha of Shvis, does transfer on money? Says the Torah, Yovel hi kodesh tiyelochem. You know that Shemitah's best friend, what's Shemitah's best friend's name? Yovel. Yovel and Shemitah, they're a couple. Yeah, Yovel and Shemitah are very much alike. It's the same halachas, except Yovel has more halachas. But Yovel is the same thing as Shemitah. You can't work the land. And it says about Yovel, kodesh tiyelochem. Yovel is treated like kodesh, like hekdesh. What does that mean? Just like hekdesh, definitely the kedusha is transferable. You know that, right? True. I want to ask you a question. If I have a bucket of paint, which is from where? Hekdesh, Beis HaMikdash. I want to transfer the kedusha into money. Does that work? Absolutely. Yes. So too, Shemitah, the kedusha of Shemitah is transferred on money because Shemitah is like kodesh, is like hekdesh. Very good. Frag the Gemara, frag the Brisa. Does Shemitah have the same details as hekdesh? Ma kodesh tofes is domov. No, I'm sorry, that's not the question. That's still part of the statement which I told you. Ma kodesh tofes is domov. Av shvis tofes is domeo. Just like kodesh catches the domim, just like kodesh, if you have money, the bucket of paint belonging to Beis HaMikdash, but the kedusha goes to the money that it's transferred to. So to shvis tofes is domeo. If I have a few grapes of Shemitah, I have wine of Shemitah, and I transfer the kedusha from the Shemitah wine onto the money will catch the kedusha. Now comes the question, which I wanted to tell you before. If so, oh, that's a question. I want to ask you now a question. Now you have to answer me because my throat is parched. When I transfer the kedusha from the bucket of paint of Beis HaMikdash, kedusha's domim, onto the money, what happens to the bucket of paint? Is it now still holy or secular? Secular, very good, because it moved away the kedusha. Would the same thing be by Shvis? Wow, that would be great. If I have grapes of Shvis, I'm stuck at home now, my friends. I got a shalachmanos from a not very religious person, and it's heter mechira, right? It's heter mechira, right? Yeah, from that I have. No, not this one. There was said in big letters that no. Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. That's another story. Another story. Heter mechira wine. So it's a big question. And that, what do you do with the wine which has kedusha shvis, right? It has kedusha shvis. What do you do with it? Can you transfer the money? Can you transfer the kedusha on the money? The bottle of wine will be shmita free, and the money will have the kedusha shvis. Is that so? Says the Gemara. Says the Brisa. No. Talmud lo yimar tihiyeh, because the word tihiyeh, it shall be, is mentioned in shmita. It says b'havayosa teheh, which means the shmita fruit will always remain kodosh. Will always remain kodosh. Why? Because teheh, and also, look at that. Both will have kedusha shvis. The wine will have kedusha shvis, and also the money will have kedusha shvis. Oh, Ketzad, how would that work? Listen to this whole Chad Gadi over here. Lokach, this is in a practical example. Lokach beperos shvis boso. A person bought, he exchanged fruit of shmita, the grapes of shmita, for meat. Elu ve'elu misbarim b'shvis. Both the grapes, shmita applies to the grapes, it stays there, and the meat also becomes with kedusha shvis. And the Mishnah, the Brisa brings an example, misbarim. What does biur shvis mean? When the time comes when things don't grow in the field anymore, when the natural cycle, agricultural cycle of grapes or whatever that is, you can't find it available in the field, which means if it's not in the field, you have to take it out of your house and be mafkir it. You're not allowed to use it. You have to mafkir, allow everybody. You're not allowed to store at home, be like a hoarder, storing in your house shmita produce which is not available in the field. That's just one example, for the halachos of shvis. So let's say you exchange the kedusha of the grapes on the kedusha of on the meat. Both of them, now that meat, you'll have to be mafkir. People do that in Bnei Brak and Yerushalayim and in Bet Shemesh, wherever people know about shvis. They go outside their apartment in front of 3 people and they mafkir all the fruit of that time. Yes. And there's the calendar. Let's say Chaf Sivan is guava. I'm just inventing. All your guavas at home, you have to take out, mafkir in front of 3 people. They're able to take it, and then if they didn't take, you're allowed to bring it back home. That's halacha. So this applies now both to the grapes, and because it's transferable, both grapes and the meat. It's even more severe than Beis HaMikdash stuff. Wow, right? Beis HaMikdash is transferred from A to B. It's a difference between cut and paste and copy and paste. Kodesh is cut and paste, and shvis is copy and paste. Same mamish azoi. Now let's continue the Chad Gadia. Bebosar dogim. That meat you exchange into fish. Yotza bosar nichnes dogim. Oh, look at that. Now the meat is not kodesh, and only the fish remain kodesh. Bedogim. Soon we'll explain why. Bedogim yain. You exchange the fish with wine. Yotza dogim nichnes yain. The fish are now secular. The fish are out of the kedusha. Only the yain becomes kodesh. The yain shemen. You exchange the wine for oil. Yotza yain nichnas shemen. The wine is now secular, is kedusha free, shmita free, and shemen is kodesh. So out of the whole chain, which one is kodesh? Haketzad achron nitpas b'shvis. The peri atzmoi osur. Wow. Let's say you have 10 items in that cycle, in that chain. Yeah. The first one always remains kodesh because it's teheh. The first item, the original item of Shemitah, always stays kodesh. It's not removable, it's transferable, not the same thing. And the last item on the list remains kodesh. Yeah? They all go out because the teheh is only about the original fruit, not about the other ones. Yeah? That's how it goes. Center. So now let's summarize. So we have 2 exceptions to the rule. Avodah Zarah, the issur of the DeRabanan is transferable to the money of the DeRabanan, right? And Shemitah as well. These are shnei ksuvim aboim ke'echad. That is to tell me, only by them the kedusha is higher and sticks to them for dear life, and also goes to the next item. While when it comes to any other item of osur ba'ano, all of those mentioned in the Mishnah, no problem. In other words, you try to transfer, no. The issur is not transferable, and therefore the Peter Chamo, the Egla Arufa, the Bosa B'cholov, the Chulim V'Azoro, all of them are what? They remain also bano. What about the money? Nothing. Nothing. The money is not affected. And you can Mekadesh the money. With the money, you can Mekadesh the woman. By the way, just for information, Avodah Zarah is the Machloikis. What happens with the Avodah Zarah? When it comes to Avodah Zarah, if I transfer Avodah Zarah, the Avodah Zarah itself, I transfer the issur on money. No, the Avodah Zarah stays Avodah Zarah, and the money becomes issur. I took the money and transferred it to other money. Then no, then it's a machloikis really. But it's on Shulchan Aruch today. It doesn't go further. It's not as bad as Shvis. Only the first one, not chilufei chilufein. Only the first chilufein, not chilufei chilufein. It's Avodah Zarah in the first money, not the others. It's a machloikis, but this is Shulchan Aruch says. Now we have to finish out because the battery of my computer is about to finish. That I don't want to happen. Now, frag the Gemara. Now the Gemara is asking a question, the final question. Hani chalaman domer ein melamdin. This is all very good, according to Man Domer that says that shnei ksuvim v'em ke'em chod ein melamdin, meaning you don't learn from two psukim that repeat the same idea. They are creating their own bubble. You don't learn from them to any other issur. El Man Domer melamdin ma'ika l'meimar. There is a Man Domer, believe it or not, that in spite of all the beautiful logic I explained to you before, there is a Man Domer that says that melamdin, when you have two psukim that say the same thing, they can teach you for other parts of Torah. What would you say then? Yeah. So then you should learn from Shemitah and Avodah Zarah. And says the Gemara, there's another reason why we exclude other isurim and only include Avodah Zarah and Shemitah. Mi'ut iksivi. In both Avodah Zarah and Shemitah, there's a local mi'ut to tell you that this halacha, this chumrah, only applies to Avodah Zarah and doesn't apply to other parts of Torah. Sivacha kicherem hu. The word hu in Avodah Zarah, it says it is cherem. It is forbidden. What does it mean? It and nothing else. Only it is issur, nothing else is issur as much. Meaning it's issur, of course, but not transferable. Only Avodah Zarah is transferable, the issur on the money, not other things. When it comes to Shemitah, about Yovel also says very exclusive word. It is issur to transfer further. That's Yovel and Shemitah, the fruit, as opposed to all other things which the issur does not go further. Atzlocho bracha. I'm very ready to hear questions, and I'm not continuing this year. I'm sorry about the Rashi, but I think I gave over the Rashi pretty well. But Baruch Hashem, we have to finish because of my technical issues here, technological issues. Thank you, Atzlocho bracha. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow, finishing the parak, guys. Tell everyone to come celebrate with us. Who wants to bring some shalachmonas junk food in honor of the siyum of the second parak? Whoa. And it's more than half the Masechta already. Thank you to all YouTube participants and Torah anytime.